I'm going to upload a bunch of different videos today. Like, I try to keep up as much as possible to make sure that, like, the videos that I put up are updated. But sometimes it gets a little bit overwhelming. I'm in between making podcasts, like a voice podcast and video podcasts. So I'm like kind of all over the place, and maybe I shouldn't even be making this video. This is just gonna be like a practice video where I'm just like speaking my mind and shit. Because lately I've been helping people out, right? So I'm disabled and I help people out at their house. But the problem is that they don't pay a fair price for the work that I'm being given. Like, for example, cutting grass. How much do you think you should pay a person to cut your grass? This is a good question because you're going to have a house one day and then you're going to have a neighbor and you're going to be like, "Hey, can you cut my grass?" And they're going to be like, "Sure." And then you're going to offer them a price. And, what type of price are you going to offer them? Are you going to offer them a good price or are you going to offer them a crappy price? And, that really speaks about your character and it speaks about that person's character and whatnot. So I'm caught in the middle, basically. So it brings me back to when I purchased pounds from my friend. So I'm caught in the middle. Basically, my friend's dad broke his leg, right? And he needed someone to help out. So I'm helping him out. And, you know, that puts you in a bad position already, doesn't it? Like, think about it. It's an old friend that you've known since you were a little child, and their dad needs help. So you're like, all right, sure, I'll help out. And then he gives you a price that he's going to help you out with. And then you're just like, you're thinking about the price, you know, and you're thinking to yourself, well, should I ask for more or should I just go with whatever is being given? And you got to remember, like, the price, you got to see it from both sides. Like, there's one person that's taking the price and there's one person that's giving the price. Both have to be on kind of like the same page. So let's just put everybody on the same page right now. You should be paying that person something close or maybe even the same as what you would be paying a company to come and do it for you. Now, you can search around. This is your due diligence. Like, this is what you have to do on your own. If you're going to hire somebody, you should search around and get a price from everyone. Okay, so this person does it for $100. This company does it for $200. This per company does it for $150. All right, this company does it for $250. So the range is like from between $100 to $250. So if you're going to offer this person to do your lawn, shouldn't you pay them at the very least the low amount that you've heard of from other companies? So all these other companies, they're thinking like, all right, well, you find one company like they'll do it for $100, and maybe that company that does it for $100 is unlicensed and it's done by Spanish people. We're gonna say Mexicans, not to be mean or anything, but just saying, like, it's done by them and you're like, all right, I want to give this kid that's going to come and help me out a fair price. So, what's a fair price? That's what you got to ask yourself. But this is where you should draw the line. It shouldn't be any lower than any one of those companies are asking for. because you got to realize that the kid is helping you out. You're helping them out, and you want to be a responsible adult. You know what I mean? Like, so this brings me back to when I was working for Dan, and I was buying pounds from him. So I was buying pounds, and we went over the math the other day, where it's like, if you pay, let's I'm going all over the place with this. So I was buying pounds, but before I was buying quarter pounds, and a pound, he sold me a pound for 2,300. So that's what he's selling it for. So I'm like, all right, cool, $2,300. And then he used to sell me quarter pounds for not, I think it was 800 or $900. It was $800. So if you were to do the math and you were to break down 2,300 divided by 4, it would give you $575. So a quarter pound of weed goes for $575. Why would why would you sell a quarter pound for $800? That's a $225 markup. So you're making an extra $225. And you got to realize that he used to buy $15,000 worth. That's the very least that he would buy. You know what I mean? So you're like, if you do the math in your head, right? You're just like, whoa, bro, isn't that pretty high? Like, why are you selling it for that much? But I never asked questions, and that was my fault for not asking questions, for not speaking up for myself. So I have a big problem with like speaking up for myself. And that's what it pretty much comes back to. The person that is working, the person that is working for the other person needs to also speak up. But like I said, it's also that responsibility of that person that's paying you to pay you a fair amount. Like I have this problem all over the place. Like I see this happen all the time where my dad hires my his nephew, I think that's what he is. His nephew is a mechanic, and my dad would ask him to do a job for him. He would get the price from the dealership. The dealership would be like, all right, it's going to cost like $2,000 just for labor. And my dad would be like, all right, I'm going to ask my nephew. He would ask his nephew, and then he would pay his nephew like $300 versus 2,000 for labor. Like you gotta realize how significantly low that is. So I've dealt with it on both sides. Like I've seen a person get paid really low, um, and I've been paid really low for my work. It's something that you have to talk about. So recently, I did do some work for my other neighbor, and unfortunately, Joey's dad gave him a really low price for me to cut the grass. So I was cutting their grass. All I did it was for $30. And everybody is talking. Like my sister is talking, my dad is talking, my mom is talking. They're all saying, they're like, yo, that is way too low of a price for you to be cutting people's grass and helping them out do stuff. Like you come home really, really tired and drained. Like you shouldn't even be working. And I'm not gonna lie, like these people work you hard. Like they're on top of you the whole time. They're like telling you what to do, and if you're not doing it correctly, they're like, when I think I'm done with the work, for example, Like they would come by and they would be like, "Oh, can you do one more thing for me?" And then it turns a grass cutting that takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours turns into 4 hours of work. And then after that 4 hours, I still get paid the rate for cutting the grass. Even though I cut the grass, I weeded your lawn, I also uh I spray your lawn, and doing all that adds up. It all adds up. And it's not fair that I walk away each day upset. You know what I mean? It's like, why am I doing it for this low of a price? I don't understand. Why are they paying me for this low? But I never really say anything. I never say anything to them because I'm just I'm just being too nice, or am I being too nice, or am I being afraid of confrontation? It's just like, you ask me for help, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll help you out. That's me being nice. And then you pay me a really low rate, and I'm just like, whatever. That's me being nice again. And then, or that's me not sticking up for myself. That's both of us not being fair to each other. And then it takes a really long time to do the job. And I'm used to getting paid hourly. So I used to get paid, like the lowest I gotten paid from somebody to do yard work was about $25 an hour. So I tried to stick by that. But even though I stick by that, my sisters, my parents, they're still like, yo, that's too low. Even my friend, even May is like, how much are they paying you? And I'm like afraid to tell her how much I'm getting paid for to do these things, because I know what she's going to say. She's going to be like, yo, that's too freaking low. Like, what the hell? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. But we're so used to people downgrading us. We're so used to people downplaying the idea of whatever we do. So you have to try to speak up for yourself. It's really hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it's really difficult to do. But we have to start being better at doing that. Being like, no, I can't do the work for you. The pay is too low. But it's so hard because, like I said, I'm helping out my friend's dad. So he's my friend, and then that's when they're like, friend, don't mix friends with business. And that's a really good thing to go by. That's probably something that I should have realized, that like, yo, this is a business you're running. Like, you can't get paid a certain amount because you have stuff to do as well. Like, I make videos. I talk to myself a lot. And my disease makes it really hard to work. So I'm working, but now it's like I'm two people working for one person. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm working twice as hard for that one job, because I have a disease. I'm not supposed to be working, and people don't realize why I'm not supposed to work. And it's because I look completely 100% normal. I don't look like I need any help. Like, I walk around perfectly fine. Like, if I tell you I'm disabled, like, people expect you to lose both your legs. Like Samir, for example, they expect you to be like, yo, I got my leg amputated. I can't do the work. They expect you to go that far for you to be like, yo, I really can't do this work. Like they expect to push you that far. That's the only way they'll back off. The only way they backed off for Samir is like, okay, the only work that he can do now, he can model, he can make videos. That's where his time is put. But in order for him to have gotten to that point where it's like, okay, the only things that I could do is model and film, he had to lose both his legs. But for me, I didn't have to do that. Like I have a disease where I hear voices and whatnot, and it makes me very, very tired. Um, I don't know where I was going with that. That was a little confusing. My bad. Yeah, that was a little confusing. But what I'm saying is like my disease makes it twice as hard to work, and people don't realize that. They think that they see a person that looks perfectly fine, their legs are intact, their arms are intact, they haven't lost a finger, they didn't lose an eye. Um, they're not complaining that they're getting tired. You know what I mean? Like you can give them as many bottles of water as you want and they'll be fine. It'll look like they're fine, but in their head, everything is going to shit. Like people don't understand how schizophrenia works. And I have so many videos because I should put in my bio like schizophrenic, this is not going to make sense because I'm just going to wing it because I can't explain this all into one video because as the idea comes into my head, it leaves my head as well. So like the only way that you would know me is if you watch each one of my videos and you're like actually listening and you're like, oh, this is what he's talking about. This is what he's trying to convey because I can't do it. Like it sucks. It really does suck. But here, I'll try to explain a little bit of it. It's like I think I said this before. It's like having multiple people work for you at the same time. Like a schizophrenic is like you're talking to two or three different people at the same time because we're it's like you're talking to two or three different people and we're all sharing one body. So you tell me to do a job and then one person is like, all right, this is how we do the job, and the next person's like, all right, make sure you get this part of the job, make sure that this part of the job is perfect. The third person is like, all right guys, I'm going to overlook what you're doing, I'm going to supervise it, and if it looks good then it looks good. So we have a supervisor and two workers in one person that is sharing the same body. So this person is working. You don't realize that they're working three times as hard as a regular person. That's kind of how schizophrenia is. And people don't realize it. People think that they're asking this one person to work and that's it. But it's not really like that. It's kind of like you're asking multiple people to work for you. Because when you hear voices, it's it's very tiring because they channel through you. And people don't realize that the voices are you guys. It's you. You don't realize that. Basically, I heard voices, right? And then now that I listen to people when they talk to me, because now I can't work, right? So mostly people have time to talk to me. When they come home, they're tired from work and they're stressed out from work and they want somebody to talk to. They come to me. So I'm that person that is like always sitting there ready for a conversation. Like when my mom is about to go to work, I go downstairs for like 20 minutes with her and she just talks her head off. And people don't realize that. But that's how kind of how the voices are. They're just talking and talking nonstop. So now that I don't hear those voices, the voices that are coming from the sky and everything, now I'm starting to hear your voice and you are telling me things and you don't realize that you're very influential. Like the voices that you hear in the sky, a schizophrenic voice, I don't know how to explain it. Voices, if you hear voices, right, it's very hard to do what you're doing because now you're getting influenced by those voices. You ever heard of this one guy? He murdered a person on a bus, and then he was a schizophrenic, and he was like, a voice told me to do it. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like those voices are being influential. So they push on your mood. They make you sad. They make you mad. They make you upset. And when you take the medication, you don't hear those voices anymore, right? Or they go away. They don't stay. Mine wasn't permanent. So it happened for like a month. I was hearing voices for a month. And then after that month, I stopped hearing voices. Now, after that month, I'm just like at a point where I'm just like, I want to hear those voices. Like, where are they? They are mine. Like I got them. Now they are a part of me. Now they show themselves in a different way. So now I write, I make videos. Like, these are like, my voices are helping me make all this stuff. So now that you're taking your medication and you don't hear these voices, now it becomes something else. Now it's like, oh, okay, your family's going to start talking to you more. Doctors are going to start talking to you more. You're going to start talking to a therapist. You're going to start doing a lot more talking than you have been doing before. And these people don't even realize it. Now they're becoming the voices. So now it's like, my sister is sitting there like, you should get paid $75 for your work. Like, how much do you get paid, Abram? I'm like, all right, I get paid like $30. She's like, for what? I'm like, for mowing their lawns. And she's like, dude, that's a lot of work. You know how much we pay people to mow our lawn? Like, it's $100 a week. I mean, it's $100 every time they cut the grass. So you should be getting paid at least $75. That's one voice. So that's one conversation. So you guys got to, that's how I'm trying to explain it to you. You guys got to realize that, okay, that's one conversation of a voice. That's how it happens in real life. Like, that's one voice talking. And then now there's another voice that's talking. All right, now I'm talking to my mom. My mom is like, you're working too hard. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, how much did you get paid? I got paid $50 for helping them out. She's like, that's not enough money for you to work. You know, your dad is stressing out. He's sad. He's about to cry. He's like, if he was a professional, if only he went to college, he would have been much better off. That's the second voice. Now you got to remember that all these voices have influence on me. So now that you heard the second voice, now there's a third voice. Now it's my dad. My dad's like, all right, if you were a professional, nobody would be doing this to you. They would be paying you a fair price, or they wouldn't even be asking you for help. It's because you have so much time in your hand, and I feel bad. Like, make sure they pay you a good amount. All right, here's $20. That's a third voice. Now, imagine all those voices hitting you at one time. That's kind of how schizophrenia is like. So they're not, when we explain voices, it's not like they're all bad. They're not all bad. They're actually they're pretty decent people. Like, they're pretty decent voices. Like, they're not telling you to kill someone. Like, that comes a little bit after. That came, for me personally, um, when it was like, maybe you should, I guess that was a little bit early on. It wasn't that bad early on, is what I'm trying to say. The most it told me to do was to suck my friend's dick. That was the worst that it got. After that, it was just like conversations. It was just like, yo, welcome back to the world, and holy crap, we're glad you're back. And then it just becomes a jumble of voices where you can't even discern what one is saying until I start writing it down. And then now I'm discerning what they're saying. Like, it just becomes a prominent voice in my head where it's just like, all right, say this. I'm trying to say this to you. And I'm like, okay, I'll write it down. I write it down. And then it becomes a story. And then the whole day, I'm just like listening to multiple stories. So yeah, that's I don't know, bro. I'm trying to explain schizophrenia, bro. It's really hard. Like you can't sit down and explain it in one video. Like you need multiple videos. I don't know what I should explain this one as. This was a 25-minute video of me putting my bed away. It took me 25 minutes to put my bed away. That's sad, bro. Yeah, but I'm having fun, you know. I think I'm gonna have to stop helping people out though. That's the thing that I'm gonna have to start doing. Because I try to see the good in everything, and I'm telling myself like, okay, Abram, like you're helping these people out, you're doing a good thing. You're helping people out, you're doing a good thing, but it's not helping me out. And schizophrenia has taught me that you have to start helping yourself out. You can't keep doing what everybody wants you to do, because you keep doing what everybody wants you to do, you're going to run out of money, you're going to run out of energy. And that's the biggest thing about schizophrenia, is that you run out of energy, and people don't realize that. So they drain you, you have no energy for yourself, and then it becomes a big problem. Like it starts building up after that. I'm going to end it here though. That was a really long video. I hope you guys enjoyed.